Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Special Projects custom build, and this particular build is inspired by a vehicle which used to be on Gran Turismo, back on Gran Turismo 2, when we used to be able to race convert some of the cars in the game. In fact, quite a few of the cars in the game, and one of the vehicles that you could do that to was the Aston Martin DB7. You could turn it into kind of an LM race car with those typical Aston Martin colours, silver with yellow around the grille, that kind of thing. Now, the visuals of that car weren't really radically different to the normal DB7. It had a rear wing and it was lower, but that was about it. It didn't have a big crazy body kit or air intakes all over the place. And so, what we've done here is basically made an inspired by tune for GT6 based on that kind of concept. This isn't necessarily a replica of that car, because of course you could change the performance of that car anyway, but this is kind of an homage to that. So, as far as the visuals, I have made a couple of changes, so we'll run through those quickly, and then we'll go over to the mechanical side of things, and finally, as always of course, take it out to a racetrack to see if the DB7 can still pull off being a race car. And as far as the visuals on this car go, there isn't really a huge amount that you can do to it anyway, even if you wanted to, and the primary thing that you need to change if you want to do this tune is of course the wing. Now, as far as the wing goes, I've gone for the smaller wing type, because the car back on GT2, as you can see from the thumbnail of this video, did not have a huge rear wing. It was quite a subtle one. So I've gone for the Type F wing supports, which are kind of a greyish colour to match the body colour, or at least blend in with it a little bit more. I've gone for the Type H wing itself, and that's actually a curved wing, which you can see from the top, whereas the others are straight. And I've gone for the Type J winglets on the end, which is basically quite a sleek, small winglet. So it's not really extreme looking, it's just a small, compact, little rear wing. And as far as the proportions of the wing, obviously you can go for whatever you want, but I've opted to reduce the width by 5 and reduce the height by 4. So, overall that's it for the wing. As far as the rims, I have changed them, obviously. I've gone for the standard size, because on this particular car, the larger rims just don't really suit it, at least for me. If you want to go for that, obviously you can, but I've gone for these Rays TE37 SLs. Again, you don't have to go for those are just the ones I've opted for. And then that's pretty much it for the bodywork. So as far as the colour of the car, I opted to go for a colour which is not only similar to what the car had back then, but also appropriate to Aston Martin. So I've gone for Solent Silver, which actually comes with the car. I've gone for that same colour for the wing as well. And as far as the rims, as you can see, they are solid black. And that solid black, for those who don't know, comes from a glitched colour from the Peugeot Vision GT car. As far as I remember, I believe it works with a number of the colours from that Peugeot. So that's it for the visuals. Now let's go over to the mechanical side of things. Now, as I mentioned, of course, this is not based on the actual performance that you could get from the DB7 race modify back then. This is just my own spin on it with a visual style that's similar. Now, I've gone for racing hard tyres. You don't necessarily need to, I just did it because it's a race car, so you want it to feel like one. Likewise with the brakes, I've upgraded those. As far as suspension, I've got the ride height as low as possible on the front and then 10mm higher on the back. And that's just because the suspension on this car, as with many exotics, naturally sits a little bit lower at the back, which I just personally don't like the look of. Now, as far as the springs, we have increased those quite a bit to 1475 and 975. Dampers I've increased to 5, anti-roll I've left on 3. You could change them if you want to, but there's not really a huge need for that on this car. I've gone for neutral camber and tow, so feel free to change that if you want to, but you don't necessarily need it. As far as the diff, we've got the lowest initial torque, highest acceleration, and lowest braking. At least that's what I've opted for. And as far as the power, we do have an oil change, so obviously you need to bear that in mind, and you can build it to whatever level you want. That's the beauty, of course, of a custom tune. It can be tailored to each individual person. Now, I've gone for a stage 3 engine tune and then reduced it down to 96% power. And as far as the weight, we've got the full weight loss package, maximum downforce, which isn't really that much on this car, and I've opted to add 34 kilos of ballast to bring you up to roughly a GT3 car kind of weight, and I've put that ballast all the way to the back of the vehicle just to improve the weight split a little bit. And incidentally, as you can see, that also brings it to 525 pp. As far as the gearbox, obviously it's not a top-end tune, but feel free to change it around if you need to. I've gone for an auto setting of 205, then individual gears of 3, 2, 1475, 1150, 925 and 775, and a final drive of 3.5. So that's it overall for what I've done for the build, and feel free as always to change any of those settings. You can certainly personalise it for yourself more or less. So now let's obviously take it out to a track to see just what this car is capable of. My overall purpose as far as this tune goes was more in the style of just a fun throwback to Gran Turismo 2 rather than necessarily being the quickest of 525 pp cars or whatever pp level you decide to build it at. You can definitely use it around circuits, seasonal events, time trials, that kind of thing, and competitive races online. But although it is designed to be a race car, it's not designed to be the best of race cars. So I wouldn't necessarily expect to beat everything you come up against in the car, but at the same time it definitely has the potential to win races. The handling is good. It errs a little bit on the side of being heavier, which is one of the reasons why I recommend changing settings to see what works best for you, because I like my cars to be a little bit heavy, whereas other people certainly don't. Overall, it's a pretty quick car for the PP level, it's fun, and it's just a nice little throwback. So overall, if you decide to use this build, or of course some variation of it, I hope you find it fun and potentially useful for racing as well. And if you'd like to keep up with other tunes like this in the future, obviously you can subscribe down below. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.